Love, exciting and new. Come aboard. I've been expecting you. I had that in my head, and I thought, don't do that. And then I thought, I'm doing it. So here's a funny thing. Remember how I told you that I'd figured out what was wrong with my good mic? I clearly did not, because I recorded 2 unboxing segments on which included, among other things, some South Carolina history that I was going to put aside in a read ahead pile to do all at once, like over a month or a couple months. And when I went back to listen to the files, if you think this audio is bad, that audio was ridiculous. I mean, you could understand what I was saying, but it sounded like I was 3 rows back on a very noisy plane, a prop plane at that. So what I'm going to do for this episode is I'm going to go back over the things that I unboxed. Unfortunately, you don't get to see my surprise as I open them up, and revisit some stuff that I talked about before. Now, you guys may have remembered, and this is a good example of how I do this stuff. You may remember when I got this book, Notebooks of Raymond Chandler, and in the same episode, this book, Raymond Chandler Speaking, which these are just little notes that he took, and this is mostly letters, and I've just finished them. I finished the second one today, and it was fantastic. It was the closest thing, because it was all letters from him to other people, and a couple of short stories that they put in there, but I'd seen the stories published elsewhere. But because this was a series of letters on a variety of subjects, I mean, obviously on writing, but on Hollywood, on cats, on Philip Marlowe, and of course, but other things, in his own words, it was the closest thing to an autobiography, which is something that Chandler kept toying with the idea of doing, that a Raymond Chandler fan is going to get. And I think that it served really well, although it was broken up thematically. I guess some autobiographies do tend to get broken up thematically. It was arranged so that you got a sense of the progress of his life during his career, and some autobiographical details before that. It was fantastic. If you're a mystery fan, or you're just a Raymond Chandler fan, here, let me put it up here like I'm on the news. If you're a Raymond Chandler fan, get this. This one, because it was so short, not quite as satisfying, but Raymond Chandler Speaking was fantastic, and I definitely would advise anybody who has ever liked a single Raymond Chandler, or if the classic movie The Big Sleep, absolutely fun to read, and he's just hilarious in his prose. Before I get to the South Carolina stuff, I wanted to bring out a game that came in that was also in one of the ruined episodes, and it was damaged a little bit in shipment, but the pieces and the game board inside weren't too bad, and so you know what, I can just say, you know what, that probably was going to happen under my care anyway. At some point I would probably mess that box up. So I don't really care about that. I'm not really worried about whether it's pretty. I opened it up. The reason I got this game, besides the fact that it's Naval, and I have a lot of Naval board games, was because it can be played by very young children. And I don't see on here where the age, 6+. So if you're having game night and one of your friends says, I'd love to come to game night, but I don't have anyone to watch my kids. Well, there's your solution. And you might even have some of the adults say, you know what, you guys go ahead and play Cards Against Humanity in the other room. I think I want to play this C game with the kids. But it's just, to me, it was a game I saw, and when I first saw it and I saw the age, how simple it was and the ages, I was still kind of like, I should get this, but is it really justifiable? And then I thought of a scenario. I was like, oh yeah, you know what, if there's a game night and someone says they can't because they can't bring their kids, I'm like, yeah, you can. I've got something. So that was that, and I was really happy to see it. And after I had recorded that ruined episode, I opened it up and I checked all the pieces, looked at the board, looked at the instructions. Some of the comments on Amazon said that the instructions were unclear. I didn't think they were the clearest instructions, but they're not like IKEA level confusing. Okay, before I get to the, I keep putting this off, but I also got these 2 T-shirts in that episode, and I wanted to share them. The first one is a T-shirt of the tarot card for Strength, which has a lion on it. Now, the reason I got this, Not necessarily that I like the tarot. I like quirky shirts, but I've also always had this strange affinity for lions. Why am I out of focus? I don't like being out of focus. Get me back in focus there, camera. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. I'm back in focus. I'm going to cut that crap out where I was trying to get into focus again. Damn you, camera. So what I was saying is that I always had this fascination with lions. As a matter of fact, the very first dream that I can remember having as a child was actually being a lion cub. And as you can see over here, if I can use the camera, my logo, it is a gigantic cosmic lion devouring the earth. I like lions. So I got that because that particular card features a lion. Of course, there is a woman who is taming the lion. I don't know if that really represents me too well. The second one I got, which is this, and really, is there anything more me than that? Not only the whole grammar police thing, but the fact that this is kind of making fun of yourself. It's self-deprecating humor, and that's all me too. So I like the fact that that says grammar police on it rather than grammar Nazi, because to me, trying to equate someone who just likes and to correct other people's language with a group of people that murdered 10 million people, maybe at least 6, maybe 10, maybe more. Hell, we don't know. That just seems inappropriate, and I hate when people say grammar Nazi. I'm like, no. Don't use the word Nazi lightly. That's just not. Let's not do that. So grammar police, I'm fine with that. I don't know how the actual police, feel about it, but it's all in fun. There's nothing fun about Nazis. Let's see. I mean, unless they're the bad guys in a movie and they're losing, then okay. Now we're finally on to the South Carolina stuff. So I'm going to show you this rather extensive pile of books. Some of them may not go into it. Some of them are kind of tangential. I have a couple of books that I unboxed earlier on Virginia that might also go into this pile as a sort of mid-Atlantic thing. But the ones that you've already seen are the Carolina Backcountry. This book here, which is a very old book, and it's essentially a history book, and that is probably going to be one of the first ones I read. I just want to get the thick one out of the way so that I can, more easily breeze through the others. Of course, I got this, the Catawba Nation, because the Catawba are very important in that region, and I want to make sure that I'm not leaving anybody's voice out. I want to know everybody's side, because as you know, on everything, not just when I'm reading history, in every issue, if you know me, you know that I like to hear every side, even the side that I expect. If there's a political argument and I expect I'm going to be on one side, I still want to hear what the other side has to say, and not through the filter of what the side I agree with. I don't like those straw man arguments, even when they serve something that I already believe. I like to hear all sides, and so this one I got. And if anyone has any suggestions for a better book than this, although this looks pretty good, please let me know, because I will definitely add to this pile. This one is Notes on Colonial North Carolina. As a matter of fact, this may be first, because it's so short that it will give me a good overview and context in which to put the other books. This one is very tangential, although it contains information about this period, the 16 to 1700s. It's some thoughts on scouts and spies, so it's really specific, really niche, but it does contain some insights in it. I think that something like this really would allow me to get in the heads of people, and so that as I'm reading about them, I'm not just reading about them as a 21st century person looking back. I want to experience it. And I've been as a kid, I used to go hunting. I haven't hunted as an adult, but as an adult, I go hiking and I go just exploring, camping. So I kind of know, but I want to know when you're out in the woods and you actually think there may be some stuff going down. This is another one that I got just to round it out. This is a series on slave narratives, and this one is specifically the volume on South Carolina. And you know what? Before I dig into this pile, I think I'm going to go back and see if I can't get the other volumes. It says South Carolina Narratives Part 1. that implies that there's at least a part 2. I might try to find the part 2 and then see if I can also find the volumes that are on North Carolina and Virginia and add them to this pile. So, and if I'm going to do that, and if I'm going to get Virginia in here, I'm probably going to have to get a book on the Powhatan too, one that just focuses on that particular group of Americans who were here before Europeans came. And of course, this is the very first one I think that and this is the Presley family along Hard Labor Creek, settling of the Carolina backcountry, and it goes a little bit. It starts in 1767 and it goes to 1850, which is a little bit beyond. I tend to get, once you start to get in the 1800s, and especially when you start to approach the Civil War, I lose interest a little bit, because by that time the character of the history changes from what I like about the history, which is all these people who had been separated for so many thousands of years suddenly finding themselves in the mix together, and just looking at how they interacted and when they did it well and when they didn't, and their fighting, their trading, their intermarriage, their friendships and their enmities. And so I hate that word. I hate using that word. I hate spelling it, and yet it came out of my mouth. It's just ridiculous, Their enemy ships, their friendships and their enemy ships. So that was my redone episode. Sorry that it seems kind of rushed, because I felt like I had a lot of material to get through. And what I'm going to do is from now on, I'm going to do a little test, which I did before this one, a little test to make sure that whatever microphone I'm using is working, because I need to get my good microphone. I need to figure out why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, because it has a much better sound than the little webcam microphone that I use. Anyway, I want to thank you very much for watching. Just like this, subscribe to the channel for more thoughts of Leith, and remember to occasionally go over and check out the Two Johns Sci-Fi podcast, because that's still going on. There's been a bit of a hiatus, but it's still going on. Anyway, thank you so much.